So imagine you're responsible for backing up your production database every night at 12 a.m. So would you wake up every night just to run a single command? Of course not, right? So you need something that automatically run your task on the schedule. So that's exactly why Kubernetes provide a cron job. So in this video, we will cover what is Kubernetes cron job, how it is different from the job, how does it work, how to write a cron job expression, and we will also see some of the Kubernetes cron job example in the real Kubernetes cluster. So let's get started. Now what is a cron job? So a cron job in the Kubernetes is the resource that automatically create and run the job on the repeating schedule. Think of like an alarm clock. So at the schedule time, the cron job wakes up and it create a job. The job create the pod and the pod create the task. Once the task is complete, the pod exit. And at the next schedule time, the whole cycle repeats. So instead of running the database backup manually every night, you define the cron job once and Kubernetes handle it automatically forever until you delete the cron job. Now the common use cases for the cron job includes nightly database backup, schedule report generations, periodic cleanup of old logs or temporary files, sending the daily digest email, and periodic data sync. Now let's see how cron job is different from the job. So all through job and cron job eventually run the pod to complete the task, but they serve for the different purpose. So job runs once when you create it, but the cron job run automatically on the schedule time. In the job, you trigger it manually using Kubectl apply, but in the cron job, Kubernetes automatically create a new job at every schedule interval. In the job completes after execution of single task, but in the cron job, it continue running according to the schedule until it deleted. It is best for the one-time task like a database migration or batch processing, but cron job is best for reoccurring tasks like a database backup, report generation, and log cleanup. Now let's see how cron job works. So when you run kubectl apply -f and the file name, so first API server receive the cron job definition file, validate it, and store in the etcd, which is the part of the Kubernetes cluster. And the cron job controller continuously check the current time against the schedule time. When the schedule time arrived, the controller create a new job object. And from that point, job behave exactly like a normal job. And the job controller create the pods. The scheduler places a pod on the suitable worker node and the container runs your command such as backing up your database. When the container finish, Kubernetes check the exit code. If exit code is equal to 0, it means job is completed successfully. If exit code is equal to non-zero, it means job has failed. And at the next schedule time, cron job controller create a brand new job and repeat the cycle, regardless of whether the previous job is succeed or failed. Now before jump into the hands-on, we need to first understand the cron job schedule. So cron job consists of 5 fields, for example, */1, ****. So let's understand each field one by one. So the first field represent minute. And here */1 means the cron job run every 1 minute. The star means every value and the /1 means every one interval. For example, a */5 means cron job will run every 5 minutes. The second field represents the hour and the star means every hour, so the cron job can run during any hour of the day. And the third field represents day of the month and the star means every day of the month, whether it is 1st, 15th or 31st. And the fourth field represents the month and the star means every month, so the cron job run throughout the year. And the fifth field represents day of the week, so the star means every day of the week, whether it's Monday, Tuesday or Wednesday or Sunday. So how to remember this? Always remember this in the order, that is minute, hour, day of the month, month and day of the week. And below we have a few examples. You can pause the video for a moment and try to understand this cron expression by your own. Now let's see the Kubernetes cron job on the real Kubernetes cluster. And for this we will open the killercode.com and we will select the Kubernetes playground and wait for the environment to load. And once it is loaded, we'll verify the cluster. And to verify the cluster, we will run kubectl get node. And you see our control plane and worker node are in ready state. Now let's create the YAML file to see the first cron job example. And we will press -i for insert mode and we will copy and paste the YAML file. So this YAML file basically create the Kubernetes cron job, which automatically create the job on the schedule. And in this example, cron job will run every 1 minute as we have explained earlier. And it start a BGBox container, print the message and wait for 10 seconds. And then after it will print the message and then exit successfully. Now let's try to save this file and execute the YAML file. Try to execute this YAML file with kubectl apply and file name. Now let's try to list the cron job. Now let's try to understand each column one by one. So first is the name, that is the cron job name, and then we have a schedule. And here our cron job will run every 1 minute. Then we have a time zone and the value is equal to none. This means we have not defined any time zone. And then we have a suspended is equal to 4. It means our cron job is not disabled, our cron job is enabled. Active is equal to 0. It means there is no job is running currently. And then last schedule none. It means cron job is not scheduled yet. And age is equal to 7 seconds. It means when the cron job has been created. Now let's try to list out the job which is created by the cron job. So we will run kubectl get pod and -w. And you will see our one job has completed successfully and the second job has started. The job will basically create the pod. So let's try to list out the pod which is created by the job. And you see 2 pod is listed. It means cron job is successfully run 2 times. So in the YAML file we have defined it will run every 1 minute and one job will be running for next 10 seconds. So we have a 2 pod. It means the 2 job has completed successfully. Now let's clean up the job and jump into the second demo. So for the second demo, let's try to create the YAML file. Press -I and paste the YAML file. And this YAML file create the cron job that simulate the database backup process. And the job will run every 2 minutes and perform the series backup related step before completing. Now let's try to save the file and execute it. And then after we will list out the cron job and you will see the similar output. Now let's try to list out the job which is created by the cron job. And you see we don't have any job created because our cron job will run every 2 minutes. So we have not finished the 2 minutes. So we will wait for another 2 minutes and come back. And you see our first job is created. Now let's try to list out the pod which is created by the cron job. And this job is completed successfully. Now let's try to see the logs of the pod. And you will see the output something like this which we have mentioned in the YAML file. Now let's clean up the cron job. So let's quickly recap what we have learned today. The cron job run a job automatically on the repeating schedule. It uses standard cron syntax to define the timing. Each schedule create a new job which behave like a normal job. Concurrency policy control overlapping the runs. It is best for the backup, schedule report and reoccurring the cleanup task. And below we have a few commands that we have used for the demo purpose. So that's everything about the cron job in the Kubernetes. In the next video, we'll learn about the label and selector. So if you have any question, feel free to ask in the comment below. Thanks for watching and I will see you in the next video.